Local programming on KRWG made possible in part by viewers like you. Thank you.
Hello, welcome to Fronteras, a Changing America. I'm Anthony Moreno. Border Senses is an organization that aims to give an outlet for artists and writers in the region to express their creativity in various ways. We are now joined by the executive director of BorderSenses.com, Minerva Laveaga. She is here to join us to talk about her organization. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having us. It's a pleasure being here. Well, Border Senses is a non-profit organization that began in 2000. And it was founded with the idea of providing a venue for writers of the region. So it started with a literary journal. And that year, in 2000, the first journal was published. And since then, we have published 18 volumes of the journal. And the 19th volume is coming up very, very soon. And then in 2005, the group, there was a group that was founded by Amit Ghosh and some other people with a master's in creative writing from UTEP. And then in 2005, it became a nonprofit with a project that is still going on, Memorias del Silencio, which is a project that offers creative writing workshops to migrant farm workers. And then this is done in collaboration with El Paso Community College, the community education program. And the writings that come out of those workshops we've been publishing in a book series of the same name, Memorias del Silencio. And we just released volume 8 of that series. And since after Memorias del Silencio, then a lot of other community projects started to happen, and we work with incarcerated youth, with writing workshops. We've worked with artists to create murals with elementary age kids. And we started the Barbed Wire open mic series, or rather we took it after UTEP had it for a while, and then they passed it along to Border Senses. And that's still going on. The last Saturday of every month, we have the Barbed Wire open mic.
So how has that been working with the community there? I mean, has it been growing as it's been going on?
It's been a very organic growth for the Barbed Wire. What started as a quiet, small gathering of poets and writers is now turned into this very unique event where poets, writers, slam poets, and a lot of musicians come. So it's became its own thing. It's just amazing because we have a lot of musicians come every month, local musicians of different genres.
I was able to look at your website a little bit about that, and I saw that there was some well-known regional artists that would stop by and participate in that event.
Yeah, the director of the Barbed Wire, Roberto Santos, and Richie Marrufo, both of them have done a great job. They're really good, and they have great personalities, so they're really good at connecting with the community. And I remember once they told me they were like passing by a park, and there was this band playing in a park, and they just stopped and say, "Hey, you guys should come by." And then they came, and the people loved them. They were these very young kids, high school kids, playing in a band, really cool music. So they're really good at finding talent and also at establishing connections with local artists and writers and different kinds.
What does an event like that do to a community?
I think that it provides just what we wanted in our mission statement. It offers a venue, a space for people to just be and do what they like to do when they get out of work, or if they're lucky, what they do for a living, and just share their words, share their music with the rest of the community. And so that's on the side of the artists. And then for people who don't like to perform, it's a nice place to be on Saturday evening, because you feel like you're part of a community and that there's something going on.
Do a lot of people just watch at first and then kind of
Yes.
get the courage to participate?
Yes, yes. A lot of people come, and then it takes a couple of times before they finally sign up for the open mic. But either way, it's an enjoyable event.
Have you participated in it?
Yes, I have read a couple of times, although I don't know, my reading is, I'm one of those readers. I'm not the best reader, so I try to be quick.
I see. I see. What is it about art and the ability for folks to express themselves that allows for community engagement to happen?
Well, what we have seen is that art, aside for being a creative venue, what it does is that it really makes a difference in the academics and the academic performance of a community. We saw that with Memorias del Silencio when we incorporated these creative writing workshops where we help students and participants to write poems and short stories and nonfiction. And we saw how that allowed them to feel more comfortable with reading and writing in general. So this collaboration, the participants are there, they are all adults, and they're trying to get their GED through EPCC, the Community Education Program. And we saw a huge improvement in their performance when they were taking their tests after taking the workshops. And that's what we're trying to do with our newest project, Forward. That one is directed to teens. So we recruit young authors, ages between 13 to 19, to attend these workshops, which are free thanks to the support of the Museums and Cultural Affairs Department of the City of El Paso. And that's our idea. We want them to enjoy art, to appreciate literature, but also to give them a different way to enjoy their education.
So is there something about reaching the youth when they're at a certain age at that high school level to really give them the opportunity to express themselves and gain confidence that they can do something?
It's definitely something that we're learning on that, because we've been working with adults most of the time in the history of border census. But it's been a great experience so far. We had the support of Jefferson High, and the teachers there are really supportive, and they have been very welcoming of the project. So we established an after-school program where students would stay after and go to the workshops. And then other venues included the Glassbox Studios, which is where Border Census office is located. And we found that young writers really like that space. It's a really cool space because it's a community of artists, so they get to meet painters and sculptors and all kinds of different musicians, and so they like to come to the Glassbox. And that was another way to also getting them to share their work. That's one of the challenges, because it's very personal, the writing, so sometimes they're kind of hesitant about whether or not they want to share that. We have a chapbook competition, so they are invited to submit their work and get it published after the workshops are over. Some of them do, some of them don't, but either way, we think that it's something that is going to stay with them. They keep their journals, they write, and they send us emails afterwards. The project director, Jasmine Ramirez, she says that she receives emails all the time of students asking for feedback on the writing after the workshops were over. So we think that it's working.
Yeah, I can imagine any artist or writer, once they put their work out there, is going to feel a certain way about it. There may be insecurities, but being a teenager at a time which may be the most insecure time of your life.
Right, and we also want to share with them, as most of us are writers ourselves, and we want to just share with them that, like I just said, if I still feel insecure sometimes about my writing and about my reading, and so that they know that, it's just part of being a writer. Sometimes you don't feel like sharing, sometimes you do, and that's okay.
Let's talk about your work about Memorias del Silencio. What type of stories have come out of that literary project?
You know, that project is one of the dearest, that's how I began to work in Border Senses, so I hold that project very dearly. And I had the opportunity for 8 years to be in front of the classroom with those participants. And what is amazing about that project is that the stories that come about are real stories for the most part. Some of them write fiction and some of them write poetry, but most of the stories are nonfiction. And it's provided them with a space to share their life in a way in which nobody had asked them before. Nobody had asked, you know, what does it mean to be a migrant worker, to have to go to the fields every day, to have to support a family. We have a lot of participants who are women, and they have had to support their family on their own, and there are different reasons why they migrated, and that's one of the things that we want to do with this project, is bring awareness to all of those stories that are not obvious. Because a lot of people think that migrants come here because, you know, they just want to get an easier life. But we've seen with the writings from these women that a lot of them come here because they really didn't have an option, because they were suffering from domestic violence or, you know, different circumstances that have guided them to get here. It's not always their ideal choice either. And so we try to bring awareness to those stories, to the stories that not everybody is familiar with in terms of the migrant experience. There are a lot of people who, when they read the book, they ask us if someone just came up with that. It's like they feel like, that's not possible. Someone could not have been in a hole full of ants for 4 hours, but it is. And we know these people, and we've talked to them, and we had the privilege of them sharing their stories with us when we're at the workshops and in the writing. So it is real. The stories that are as nonfiction in the book are real, and some of them are really unbelievable. But that's what we're trying to do, to show that other side of the narrative, because the migrant stories usually get written by someone else, by academics, by journalists. Rarely do we get to hear the stories from the people who live the story, and that's one of the things that we want to feature in this project.
What type of process is it for someone to submit their work for one of the journals?
For the Literary and Arts Journal, we have open submissions. Usually they go in the winter and spring, and then towards the end of spring we do the selections. Right now we just finished working on the latest one, and then we publish it in the fall or late summer. That one is open. It's open for anybody who would like to submit. We accept poetry, fiction, nonfiction, book reviews, both in English and in Spanish, which is one of the unique aspects of this journal, is that we are trying to open the space for writers who write in English and also in Spanish, or English and Spanish.
Let's talk about the diversity of Border Senses. Share with us a little bit about how you've seen, you know, different worlds come together to form these various projects.
You know, it's very interesting. When he first started, the idea was I remember Amir Ghosh, he would say, you know, there's no place for writers to place their work here in this area. So it began very regional. Over the years, what we have seen is that writers who write in languages other than English need spaces, not only the ones who come from Mexico, but from many other places. So some of our issues include now authors from Argentina, from Spain, from Colombia. This issue has an author from Pakistan. So what we see is that the United States is open to a world literature. And that's a privilege for authors who want to be a part of the literary world, and we want to help to offer a venue for those authors to be read here in the United States, whether or not they are here.
Now, I know you have a lot of events also in the community, and then you have the literary project. We've talked a lot about literature, but you also have opportunities for artists to express themselves musically through, I mean, live, like we said earlier, slam poetry, but also there are photographers featured in your work.
Yes, the literary journal also is open for submissions from artists of mixed media, photography, painting, drawing, and this issue, volume 18, the latest, the one published right before the one this year, was the first issue where we were able to publish all of the art in color. So now all of the art is in color, so it doesn't lose anything from the original. And what we try to do is that whenever we have readings, we also try to feature the art part of it. So we have art exhibits. And we collaborate with groups also who are doing art in the community. For Memorias del Silencio, for example, we've worked with Piece of Art, and they developed a series of posters that had a topic of the violence in Juarez. So we had a poster exhibit the same day when we had the book release, and they allow us to use some of their images as illustrations for the book as well. So we're always trying to incorporate different artistic disciplines, because we think most of the people that we know, we're figuring out that nobody's just a writer and nobody's just a painter. Most artists are doing more than one thing, and so we want to support their endeavors.
How has that collaboration effort been with other organizations within, this region?
I think we're very fortunate that we have a community of people who are very active in art and community development and community support. And we've worked with groups, again, like Piece of Art. We work with the Mercado Mayapan. We work, the Percolator has been a great supporter of our events, and San Carlos Building. So we have a lot of, and the Glass Box, and the Glass Box hosts a number of different artists of different disciplines who, in one way or another, we're always trying to help each other. There is the Philosophic Systems Institute, for example, there that offers workshops of different kinds at the Glass Box. So I think we're very fortunate to be in a community where people are very active and very open to collaborations.
What are some of the examples that you've seen, of someone who maybe wasn't a well-known artist or a photographer or writer, who got involved with your program, and then all of a sudden they just found out that they had this gift?
It's hard to think of the top of my head of names, but we get emails of people saying, the first poem that I published was in Border Senses, I don't know, 7 years ago, and now I got my first award or my first book published. And we get a lot of those emails. So I cannot tell the specific names right now, just because I am sure that I would leave a lot of people out of the list. But we've also had the privilege of having editors who have been part of this project, and then they are now doing great in their own careers. Benjamin Saenz, for example, he's in our board. He's been published in Border Senses. He's a great supporter of our endeavors. Laura Cesar Coeglin, who's an Uruguayan poet, was the editor for one of our issues, volume 17. And she has 2 books right now. One of them has been published into English here in the United States. I don't know, the list is so long. Selfa Cheo is our Spanish editor, and she's now a professor in the history department at UTEP, and she's won numerous awards and has numerous publications. So we're just very privileged with the people that have passed by Border Senses.
I see. Speaking of community or awards, you recently won a Community Spirit Award, or were awarded that. What was that like to receive that?
That was really, really special for us because it was by EPCC, by El Paso Community College, which is an institution that has always been very supportive of our endeavors, and it just kind of like it was a good thing for the staff and for everybody at Border Senses, all of us, to feel like, okay, we should keep doing this. We should keep working, because It's a non-profit organization, so we rely on donations by individuals and foundations and grants. So sometimes it gets tough, and a lot of the work that is done on a volunteer basis. So awards like these remind us that there's someone on the other side listening and paying attention, and that's definitely great, a great feeling.
Could you share with us a little bit about what attracted you to be a part of this?
When I first began to work at Border Senses, I had just finished my master's in creative writing, and they offered me to give workshops to migrant farm workers, and it was a pilot program. We had a grant from the Museums and Cultural Affairs Department, and that's how it started. So then I just started offering the creative writing workshops, and I just loved that, and since then I've been around.
What was it like in those classes, that you were giving to the migrant workers, and what was it that you saw there, and could you share with us how the feeling?
Yeah, I think I guess the biggest challenge there was to convince them, because you get there and then they're like, they have so many worries, so many like real concrete things that they have to deal with. They're like, why are you here talking to me about poetry? Like what is that going to be good for? But then once they start to write their own stories and they see how it's not only about literature, but it's about community, and it's about learning, and it's about even articulating their own stories to themselves, which I think some of them may not have done before. Just kind of putting it on paper or saying it out loud, it made it more real, and it made it more tangible, everything that they had overcome. And so it is really an amazing experience to be so privileged to work with those groups of people. And I hear the same now. I'm not in front of the classroom with the newest project, but I hear from Lacey Mayberry, who's one of the creative writing instructors, and Jasmine Ramirez, that working with the young authors is the same kind of experience. At first they're like, I don't know if this is for me or not, but then once they start to write their own stories, then everything starts to make sense.
Is that the future of Border Senses, is expanding to the younger generation?
I think that we want to continue working with adults, and we definitely are enjoying working with young writers, so we'll probably want to try to keep both. We see a benefit in both age groups, writers our age and older, that community writing is very important for a writer, and younger writers, we want to complement what the education that they are getting at school, which may not be necessarily focused on art or writing, and we want to complement that and give them some tools that they may not get otherwise to be successful, whether or not they want to be writers, as professional writers or not. We think that it's going to be helpful.
What is it that, you talk about those tools, what are those tools that somebody going through this program is really going to be able to get by the time they graduate high school and move on to whatever they do?
I think one of the big ones, maybe one of the most obvious ones, may be self-confidence, to know that their stories are important, that there are people who want to read about what they're going through. We think because the workshops have a reading complement, that hopefully they'll become readers. And if they used to read a book from time to time, hopefully it becomes part of their life, in always having a book on their night table, hopefully, and just be readers in the future. And an appreciation for art. We hope that we are opening up a new generation of artist supporters of art, people who want to support their community. A lot of the participants of Forward become interns at Border Senses. They stay and they help us out in events, and we have some of them help out at the Barbed Wire, for example, and they help out with different projects. So they become active in their community, in supporting their community and the artists that live in it.
We just have a couple minutes left, but I was wondering, what is it that Border Senses needs to do to really get that next generation of artists to participate in it?
Well, we need the support of educators. So if there are educators, teachers are the best supporters of this kind of project. And we have seen that in the last year, that they are the ones who open the doors for their students because they are aware of those areas where the student may be needing a little bit more emphasis on art. So they are the ones who share the information with the students. So we invite teachers to share the information about border census with their students and invite them to participate in the workshops and just support the community in that way.
And where can interested people go to find out more information about border census?
So our website is bordercensus.com and our email is info@bordercensus.com. So you can contact us through email or on our website, or we're also on Facebook, so you can find us there.
And you also have various social media sites, I see.
Yeah, Twitter, and we have also a YouTube channel. So yeah, we're everywhere.
Have you put the performances on YouTube of anybody?
In YouTube right now, I think what we have is just the beginning of Forward, so some promos for Forward, and the students at Jefferson High made a video thanking us for the workshop, so I think that is there or should be there soon, and we're going to start adding some performances at from the barbed wire and the other events.
Wow. Well, I want to thank you very much for joining us, and you know, best of luck with the recent book release and the future of your literary organization.
Thank you so much for having us. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our guest was Minerva Laveaga. She is Executive Director of BorderCensus.com. I'm Anthony Moreno. Thank you for joining us on Fronteras, A Changing America.